Tesla Model X is an amazing car, but is it good enough to compete in the SUV market? Is it even SUV? There are so many different opinions. There's so much competition coming up this year and the next year. So let's talk about whether or not Tesla needs to maybe tweak its strategy. Is Model Y that's coming up going to help? And Eli Burton of My Tesla Adventure is going to be here to help me answer that question. And of course, we're looking forward to your comments. Let's get going right now.
Taking over the world, electrifying the world, electric.
Welcome to E4Electric, your number one source of unbiased electric car news. If this is your first time here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button down there so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, so I wanted to do this topic for a while, and Eli is going to be here in just a second because I think he has a very interesting opinion about this. But many times people are wondering, well, is Model X, is it an SUV? Before that, who cares? Nobody really cared about it because it was the only electric SUV, whatever you want to call it, on the market. But now with I-Pace and e-tron and Nero EV, and there's so many of them are coming on the market that are actually true SUVs. They look more like an SUV. They have more SUV capabilities. So does Tesla need to change course, or are they pretty much okay with just saying, hey, listen, we're a luxury SUV, so we don't really need to go off the cliff on almost 90-degree angle like e-tron might be. So it's definitely a thing, but make no mistake about it. Once we're moving forward, once they're competitors and they're producing decent electric SUVs, this could be a problem for Tesla. So let's talk about it. Before that, of course, a quick reminder about another electric car SUV that's a sponsor of this channel. That's Byton and Byte. Check it out, coming to the US and Europe at the end of the next year. Look at how fast you can make a reservation, mainly because there is no payment form. That's right, it's absolutely free to make a reservation. So join myself and over 50,000 other people who've done so. Go to the description of this video and reserve your Byton today. All right, so without further ado, let me bring Eli in, and let's get this baby going. Eli, welcome back to the show.
Alex, super great to be back on the show for this week's episode of Supercharged.
Yes, and I'm surprised we haven't really talked about it. We haven't even touched this topic, but let's talk about a Model X. First of all, do you think it's an SUV, and what does it take to qualify as an SUV?
I do think the Model X is an SUV, and I think what qualifies it as an SUV, and I realize it's kind of a not super well-defined term from a consumer standpoint, because there's a number of different cars that have some similarities but some significant differences that are still SUVs. But for me, Model X is definitely an SUV due to its total storage capacity, the amount of seats that it can fit very comfortably. It's definitely not a crossover. I consider the Model X a true SUV.
Well, interesting. I'm not an SUV type of a guy, but from what I understand, it does require to have some off-road capabilities, be able to have four-wheel drive, which Model X has now exclusively, pretty much. There's a question about clearance. The clearance is still pretty low. The clearance is very, very, you can call it a crossover almost clearance, or even just a regular sedan clearance. Doesn't that something that people really do care about when they do go off-roading?
Well, the maximum clearance on the Model X is 22 centimeters. So, I mean, that's versus, I think the standard clearance on the e-tron is about 20 centimeters. Now, it does have a mode that I know the e-tron's allowed to go up to much higher. But yeah, the Model X definitely has significant clearance. It's not as high as some other SUVs, but I don't know if it's low enough to not consider it an SUV.
Well, so I think the definition is so fluid. Like, for example, we can talk about I-Pace. Is it an SUV? Is it a crossover? Does the size matter? Because then, and by the way, so let's talk about the other competitors now that they have. So let me list them as I see them here, right? So we've already, okay, so this is the Model X, but now we just, obviously, the sponsor of this channel, Byton, but they are coming up with SUV by the end of the year in China. There's also Audi e-tron. That's on the market right now, and I test drove it myself back in January, and it does amazing stuff off-road. Like, I thought I was gonna die, and I didn't. So that was, I have a video on the channel, you've probably seen it. Of course, Jaguar I-Pace, Mercedes EQC that's coming up at the end of the year. I rode in one in January. Really decent SUV as well. Kia Niro EV, obviously a more affordable and compact SUV, could be crossover on the market right now. So is Hyundai Kona, which is a more of a full-size SUV here. It's bigger than Niro. Now in China, they have a competition from NIO that has ES8, and now they're selling ES6, which is also a smaller SUV. And so, of course, BMW iX3, that's going to be on the market very soon as well. And we're talking about pretty much everything that I mentioned right now is either on the market right now or is going to exist by the end of the next year. Now, by exist, I mean delivered to at least one customer. So, let's talk about it. Like, Kia Niro EV, Jaguar I-Pace, are they, should we consider them as SUVs? And those of you who are watching us, chime in the comment section as well.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting to see what the commenters say, because for me, an SUV is much more about the size of the vehicle. I would look at the e-tron. I look at the I-Pace. I see those still as SUVs. I believe the I-Pace, and again, I haven't gotten to see the I-Pace in person. I've just been able to see photos. But I think for me, the I-Pace still falls in the SUV space, although it's a little bit smaller. So for me, that might be a crossover. I'd have to see it in person to confirm. But for me, the difference between an SUV and a crossover SUV comes down to size for passengers and then size for storage.
Well, I mean, I've seen I-Pace in person and Niro, pretty much everything. I think I've seen all of these cars in person except for iX3, but it's pretty much the same as the X3 right now. They're definitely smaller. There's no doubt about it. A lot of people believe that an I-Pace is sort of an elevated sedan. But let's get back to the sort of the bigger issue, which I'm wondering, and I'm genuinely wondering. A lot of times I believe I know the answer, but I really don't know the answer here. Is Model X good enough to compete with all of these other cars? I got to tell you, e-tron is just better than the Model X off-roading. It's just period. It also looks more like an SUV, so I think a lot of people go like, yeah, I'm already trying electric. The last thing I want to do is try this new design, And I think that's what Tesla might get wrong with their pickup truck, but that's a whole different point. So, and I know we know Model Y is coming, which is different from the Model X, and it's more of a crossover. Do you think Tesla might be once this competition is really heating up? Do you think Tesla might be under pressure and might affect their sales?
So I think that Model Y, you're right, Model Y is Tesla's true crossover. In fact, Model Y is just a much bigger Model 3, 10% bigger Model 3 by Tesla's measurements that adds the hatchback. And yeah, I think the Model Y is going to fit very sturdily into the crossover space. Now, Model Y doesn't look like it'll even have as high a clearance as Model X. I don't have that confirmed, but it's also not expected that Model Y will have smart air suspension, and that's one of the things that allows the Model X to get up even higher using ultra high suspension. I think this is going to be very much a suburban urban SUV that people use to shuttle around their families. But for Model Y, I don't expect it to be being thought of as an off-road vehicle. And I think there's a huge market for that. I think they will sell a ton of them, but I think it definitely leaves market share for the other SUVs for buyers who want to go off-road. And part of that is no car can be a one-size-fits-all solution for everyone. So we need there to be vehicles out there, and there needs to be EV options out there that are good off-road vehicles. And I haven't driven both the Model X and e-tron off-road to truly compare. I haven't done any off-roading in a Model X at all personally, so I don't know the comparison, so I'll take your word on that. But it's great to hear that these other automakers are offering other solutions around electric that can help fill more customers' needs. Because there is no one-size-fits-all car for every problem.
Well, then don't take my word for it. I have a video, and I think you've seen it. It's really. I mean, I try to video as much of it as possible. I just and it's okay. I think for other cars to be better than Tesla in some ways because again, I don't think Model X is designed or supposed to be designed. It's not like it's worse at off-roading than e-tron because it's just designed worse. It's just not designed for it at all. My point was mainly just like, hey, but people who need it, they might just have to go for the e-tron.
No, that's
even
exactly
though they
what
might
I'm
want
saying.
a Tesla.
I'm saying exactly that. I'm completely agreeing with you, Alex. Yeah, I think that if you're looking for an off-road vehicle and you want to be able to get into some deep stuff, Model X, Model X might not be the right car for you.
And you know, I've heard that a lot of people are actually saying, you know, Model X is more of a minivan rather than an SUV just because of the design, right? Like just design itself, because we're talking about one extra curve on the back, right? And it's all of a sudden SUV, and all of a sudden, but now it does look like a minivan to some people. And you know, this okay, well, let's just go maybe even a little bit off topic. You know, we're talking about design and whether or not it's a tough sell on top of already being electric for a lot of people. You know, we're all kind of scared about to see the pickup truck that Elon is going to unveil later this year, because we're all afraid that it's going to be so, what was that word that he used?
I think it was cyberpunk.
Yeah, so cyberpunk that people who actually want to buy a pickup truck and are willing to go electric will be like, okay, but this looks way too weird for me. So the design is something that Tesla really needs to keep up with, and maybe by up I mean down. So do you think when Tesla is going into its unknown territory of, you know, SUVs and pickup trucks and utility vehicles, they should keep their designs more on a standard kind of a boring side to compete with people who just may not accept the new design?
I think what Tesla did with the Model S was exceptional. I think that's an incredibly beautiful, sexy car. I think what they did with the Model 3 was smart. It's modern, it's futuristic, but it's not going way far into the future. I think what they're doing with Model Y is completely sensible. But then when I hear what they're talking about with the pickup truck, it seems to be a complete departure from what they've done and designed so far, because nobody would look at any of the existing Teslas and think this was some cyberpunk thing from the future. And the sneak peek photo, I'm going to use your example, looks exactly like a photocopier something thing in the dark. I don't know. I think the design of the pickup truck, the way he's describing it, it sounds like something that I'm going to be like, wow, that's cool. But I'm also not the person who's going to buy a pickup truck. And yeah, no, I'm concerned about the design being something that, you know, they're going to love, but also be sellable to the market it needs to hit. And I think that may be part of the reason why we still haven't seen an unveiled date yet for the product, because I think they're still going back and forth internally trying to combat between, you know, the desire to make something that they absolutely love and making something that still looks in a way that's practical for the audience that they need to sell these to.
Yeah, and I think going back to the Model X, as I'm just kind of thinking as we're talking about this, you know, I think if you are getting an SUV to go off-road, you will probably go with another brand. And again, EQC and e-tron and I-Pace even, and there will be quite a few other ones are just probably better choice. But if you need a towing capacity, which Model X definitely has, if you need storage space, which Model X definitely has, and you just maybe just want to hold your kids and family in it, then Model X I think is still a winner by far. I think it's the most advanced car out there. I mean, I don't think people understand that you don't even have to touch the doors to get in and get out of the car. I remember when I got it as a loaner and I got used to just getting in without, you know, then I got to my Model S and I stood there and I'm like, oh, door handles, I gotta use them, right? The Model X is absolutely amazing. So do you think there's a need though for a Tesla to address that off-road experience, you know, soon, or you think they can get away with it for a while?
I think they should make some videos showing the capability of what it can do off-road, because I don't think many people know of how far it can go. I think they should communicate that better. But no, I don't think they need to solve that problem. I think that what that vehicle is going after isn't trying to primarily solve the off-road solution for people. So no, I think they need to focus on what they are. And one of the things that you said is perfect for is it's a great towing vehicle. And when you add the ability to store all these people and tow your camper and tow your dirt bikes and tow your quad to wherever you're going with your family for your weekend or your holiday, it's a perfect car for that. And with the supercharging network they had to back it up, you can go anywhere.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. So I think we're agreeing in terms of that. They can get away with it for a while, for a long while. They're still beating everybody else.
I think it's just a get away with it thing. I don't think they ever need to make that car solve the off-road problem. I think they'll be okay not getting that market share because they're going to get the other market share of people who aren't interested in off-roading, which SUVs are wildly popular by tons of people who've never gone off-road in their entire life, right? Like, I mean, we buy a ton of them in the USA, and those people never go off-road. So, like, I think they will serve that market, the luxury into that market, and they'll be okay with capturing that.
And I think you're right because like I've lived here in Sacramento for a year now, and you live pretty close by as well. And I see trucks here everywhere. This is where Americans drive these big trucks and SUVs, and I almost never see a dirty one, meaning like they just went off road. And even people who I obviously made friends with here, they never go, hey, I'm taking my truck off roading this, or we're going camping and I need my truck because I need to get through the tundra. You know what I mean? Like I think you're right. Where I don't think people need most of the time their SUVs and trucks to actually go off road.
No, and the majority of the population doesn't. And it's also going off roading isn't a big part of culture here in California. And we're a huge part of the world economy, let alone even the United States economy. So yeah, no, there's a huge market that will never take their vehicle off road. There's other parts of the country when I go visit family, they couldn't imagine owning a vehicle that couldn't go off road. And you know what? That's fine. There's a number of vehicles to serve them.
You know what I'm realizing as I was preparing for the show, we're trying to pull all SUVs that are kind of on the market or coming up. One we forgot? Like I just realized. We forgot Rivian. Like everyone's so into Rivian pickup truck that they're forgetting that Rivian it will make an SUV pretty much at the same time, and it's going to be also an amazing SUV. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Rivian's design, actually, but it is going to be an amazing SUV with a great range and off-road capabilities, just like their truck will. So I'm actually wondering, like, hey, are people so concentrated on Rivian's pickup truck they're forgetting that this is also going to be an amazing SUV? What do you think about that?
I think 100%, because I think Rivian's also focusing on their pickup truck for marketing, because that's the one place that they actually kind of were first. And they got to get a foothold for being able to show progress on a truck. They even beat Tesla to that. So I think it's from a marketing standpoint that their best way to get their name out there is focusing on the thing they have that's the most unique. And for them, that's the pickup truck. So I think they've got a winner. They've got her on they've got the pickup truck on the stage. They're going to keep pushing that out there for as long as it can maintain the limelight. So I think that's why we're not hearing about the SUV.
Yeah, but we should be. What I'm saying is that once they come to the market, they probably will be one of the most desired off-road SUV. As a matter of fact, as I see them promoting, like I follow them on social media and stuff like that, they're catering to this crowd. I've never even heard of this before, but it's called overlanding. This is where people kind of go off-road for reals and they like do real camping. Like Rivian just came up with their little portable kitchen and stuff like that.
I think Rivian's going after the Jeep audience. I think that's a perfect example of the people they're going to take on.
Yeah. So I'm actually a little bit embarrassed that we haven't thought about the Rivian SUV, but now we have. At least we've corrected our mistake live. All right, man. Listen, I think this is going to be an ongoing conversation. I think it's going to be very interesting. I've been waiting for this for a while. I feel like this year, I thought this year was going to be the year of electric cars, and not just Tesla competition, but just electric cars blowing up. Unfortunately, everyone was delayed, here and there, and even the cars like Kia Niro that's on the market from last year, even they're not making as many because of the battery issues or whatever other issues they're having. I'm kind of starting to look forward to the next year when things are really, really going to start picking up, and I think that will shape the answer that we're looking for. So you don't have to say anything about it at all. I'm just my brain is working overtime. But what I want you to talk about is your upcoming episode of your podcast. And how did the last one go too, by the way?
Yeah, we actually just recorded 2 new episodes on Sunday. We are a little bit behind. Both me and my co-host Anwar Beck had some family things going on, but we're back at it now, and we've got a great discussion coming up about some of the recent things Tesla changed, about unlimited supercharging, is it sustainable, and a few more topics I think you guys are going to enjoy. You can subscribe to us on podcasts, on iTunes, on Android, or on all the different platforms. But I want to add one more comment about one of the last things you said, Alex, about this being the year of electric vehicles. I think this seemed to be kind of the ramp up year for electric vehicles. And I think in 2020 in the US, we're really going to see a lot more electric vehicle sales. And just one of the things for the people watching this, the whole narrative for a long time, it's going to be posed as every new car is being a threat to Tesla, or once e-tron gets going and more established, it's going to be the threat to the e-tron, or once Porsche gets going, it's going to be a threat to Porsche. The way the media is going to cover it is not going to be reflective of how the market's actually going, how consumers are actually going to be buying. These new cars coming to market are primarily going to be first-time electric vehicle buyers, and the real story that you won't see being told is that electric vehicles being bought instead of internal combustion engine car. So all the media is going to be distracted, focusing on comparing every new car to the gold standard and how it's going to be a competitive threat. What it really is, it's the transition we watched of going from dumb phones to smartphones, right? Every new smartphone that was bought for a long time, at least when Android came out, every new Android that was bought, it wasn't being bought instead of an Apple, it was being the discardment of a Nokia, right? So that's exactly what we're headed into. So just keep that in mind as we watch this, that there's going to be a lot of noise that's happening around that's not going to be real reflective of what's happening on the street and why consumers are buying.
I agree with you in terms of hope, but you know, we just had one of the worst months of electric car sales in the U.S., especially year over year, you know, progress, which we haven't made any in July. As a matter of fact, there were less electric cars sold in July in the United States of this year than July of last year, which is really embarrassing. People are kind of blaming Model 3, not blaming, but explaining it, because Model 3 was exclusively sold in the United States last year, and now they're obviously selling a lot of them in Europe and China. But, you know, where's everybody else? Like, the whole point was that it just wasn't going to be just Tesla, though right now it's really just mainly Tesla. So I am cautiously optimistic, and you're right. People are trying to compete for that Tesla market where they should be competing on the market that they can actually win, which is gas cars. Because, you know, Audi, Mercedes, whatever, you can name any Tesla killer, Challenger, whatever you want to call it, and most of the time they're going to lose to Tesla in most categories. But where they can really win is going against gas cars, and that hasn't been happening just yet. So I'm with you. I'm hoping that it's going to expand rather than be more entertaining with its tiny little 1% of our bubble.
And this is why we still need Tesla, by the way. If Tesla were to close shop tomorrow, I would watch how long it would take these legacy automakers to really catch up. But the day is coming where at some point these companies are going to realize and be able to afford the loss of saying, all right, and if we want to win customers, they're going to have to do exactly what Tesla did, which is they have to convince people that their product is not just a little bit better, but superior to everyone else. And Tesla's been doing that by saying, look at how superior our electric vehicle is to the gas car. As soon as one of these automakers drops the gauntlet and starts comparing the e-tron to the gas guzzling equivalent of their competitors, and they start directly stealing gas market share, I think we're going to immediately see the switch get flipped, and then it's going to be on. Because now somebody's thrown down, and they're not just comparing their electric car versus Tesla's, they're comparing their electric car versus their competitor's ICE car. Now you have a huge competitive advantage. Now you have a reason why somebody who's been buying Audi to jump over to Lexus, let's say. I mean, I know Toyota's not doing a great job in electric. Let's give that example. Or get somebody to go from Lexus to Audi because it's like, hey, you see your Lexus RX? Check out our Audi e-tron and how much better this electric experience is. Once that starts happening, then we're going to see the opening of the floodgates. But they're intentionally holding back on that right now. They're not ready for a demand on electric cars to go that high because they can't fulfill it.
And well, so I'm with you, and the reason I'm not as optimistic maybe as you are is because, like, even today there's a story about Jaguar giving, first of all, they're already giving out ridiculous discounts because somehow they're not able to sell this amazing car. I think I-Pace is an amazing car. The reason I didn't want it is because I really like a big steering wheel, but that's like me, right? I just like, nobody else I think has that issue. Otherwise, it's an amazing car with at a really good price, especially after discounts and a tax rebate. But this week they've announced that they're giving out $3,000 extra for current Tesla owners, and this is the problem I'm talking about. No one is going to do that. If you already have a Tesla, you're not going to say, oh, I can save $3,000, I'm out of here. Absolutely not. But if they are driving a Lexus RX and a Jaguar comes in and says, switch to us because of all of this amazing stuff, I would give the $3,000 to pretty much anybody who's not driving a Tesla. And it looks like Jaguar once again is losing that marketing battle as they started with competing with Model X, by the way, which was a mistake. So that's why I'm a little concerned, man. I really am.
Yeah, and I may be overly optimistic on it being 2020, and it probably won't be, but I hope it is. I really hope it is.
Me too. All right, my friend. Well, listen, thanks for hanging out with me once again. When people are going to be watching this video, I'm actually going to be at the Monterey Car Week, checking out some of the newer electric cars that are coming out this week, or some of the ones that I haven't seen before. So I'm looking forward to that. And tell us, where else can my audience find you?
You guys can also find me on YouTube, youtube.com/myteslaadventure. Actually, in fact, I just crossed 5,000 subscribers. Alex, thanks so much.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
You can also find me on Instagram at myteslaadventure, and that's where I post daily content, daily updates, just what's going on. And we also have a Facebook page, and that's where we announce our Tesla owners events, which we're going to be announcing one here in a couple weeks coming up for either late September, early October. So more to come.
Wait,
Stay
man.
tuned. Super excited to get back out there with the community.
I can't wait. And I mean, if anything, if you guys live anywhere in California, you gotta follow My Tesla Adventures just because you gotta attend. If you haven't attended an event, you're missing out. You're missing out on a really big portion of your Tesla ownership. And even if you're just thinking about getting a Tesla, that's still an amazing event to attend. All right, my friend. Thanks so much for hanging out. I think we covered more than one topic today, and I will see you next week.
Thanks, Alex.
All right, guys. So this conversation actually took a life of its own, which I always actually I like that. But I'm also going to look to the comments in the comment section here, because bottom line, it's really not just up to me and Eli, right? We can speculate as much as we want, and I do believe we have educated opinions on this one. But at the same time, it's really about you guys who are watching and people who are out there. What do you consider an SUV? Would you pick a Model X over, let's say, an e-tron, even though e-tron might have a better off-road capabilities, but you may not need them, and so therefore Model X might be a better car for you. Do you consider it SUV, or maybe it's a minivan? Listen, whatever your thoughts are here, and I think we've posed more questions than we answered today. Go ahead and put it in the comment section. It's always fun to read. A quick reminder, of course, and a huge thank you to one of my newer Patreons, Neil Weaver. Thank you so much for joining my Patreon community. I am a full-time YouTuber, so this definitely puts a foot on my table. If you want to join me there, patreon.com/E4Electric. You can also catch most of my videos there streaming live. And of course, don't forget to get on our VIP list, which is absolutely free. You can go to e4electric.com/VIP, and we send out a free bonus story to you guys every Saturday. Our staff writer AJ is absolutely amazing. All right, looking forward to your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.